What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Final Boss Garage. Today was a fun one. We took my 14.5-inch Brembos 4-piston that came off the 2013 Camaro. The ones I picked up off Craigslist for $100. Today's video, we go ahead and install those. So if that's something you're potentially interested in, running some Brembos like that on your Thirdgen or LS1 brakes, because this is still pretty relevant. You see me take off my LS1 brakes and I kind of break it down for you. Stay tuned. I'll go ahead and do all that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Alright guys, this is the current setup for our brakes right now. This is the 98 to 02 LS1 brakes. We're going to be pulling these off, putting on the Brembos. I just wanted to kind of give you a breakdown on what it entails for the 98 to 02 brakes, in case that's what you're after instead of the Brembos. This is 4-chin rotor. No need to bore the inside. That fits the hub. I'm going to go ahead and take off the caliper right now, and then I will show you what it looks like behind. So I've taken the 2 bolts off of the caliper where it mounts up. It just bolts in into these 2 locations. Bolt goes through the custom bracket and into the caliper. This bracket I got from bigbreakupgrade.com. I'm going to include the link for that. It's really nice. This hub assembly right here I got from him as well. All this was your standard 3rd-gen rotor, machined down to take off the actual like braking part of it, and then that way it's just a spindle. And then I redid my bearings and everything when I installed this. But other than that, that's really all that's needed. And then you need some custom brake lines for the new calipers. I also got that from bigbreakupgrade.com. So he has everything you need in there. If you want, you can literally buy the whole kit and you don't have to do anything. And then it all bolts right up, super nice. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and grab the Brembos, and I want to see how the Brembos are going to fit up against this bracket. From what I understand is they bolt onto a 4th gen, but all you have to do is drill out the holes where it mounts to accept the larger M14 by 2.0 bolts. So I'm assuming that all I have to do is drill these holes out to be big enough for those bolts as well. I'm going to go ahead and take off this hub assembly, that way you guys can get a better view of behind it. Okay. So this is going to slide off just like your normal brake would. Want to keep all this together. It all still looks good. So now you can see a little bit better of what I actually did. Right here was one arm that kind of curled down, and right here was another one that like curled out. I chopped both of those off. There, your 2 caliper mounting bolt holes were right here and right here. I drilled those out, tapped them to fit these bolts to hold the bracket to it. The dust shield, the big black circle thing right here, I trimmed it all the way around to where nothing was showing, but it keeps this little dust cap, which is nice. And that's about it. You got your custom brake lines. So to get these Brembos to mount up, I'm going to have to put on the new bolt. But the new bolt is a M14 by 2.0 at 56.8 millimeters long. I got this from Home Depot. This is 60 millimeters. Hopefully that's not too big of a deal, but this is just a tad bit too girthy to go through here. So I'm going to go ahead and drill and tap this, or I don't even have to tap them. The caliper's threaded, so I'm just going to have to drill this out a little bit to where that'll slide in. Alright, so this bolt hole and this bolt hole are what held on the Thirdgen calipers. So first things first, I just want to make sure these line up. The caliper is going to go in front of the bracket, but this is just for visual references. So it looks like everything lines up perfect, so we know it's going to work. We're just going to go ahead and drill out these holes first. And then let's make sure we've got the right size. Alright, so the ones we picked up from Home Depot, they screw in just fine, so we know we're good to go. Still not big enough. Half inch is the biggest I have. I'm gonna have to run to the store and get a bigger drill bit. Alright guys, I just ran to the store, picked up this DeWalt 9/16 drill bit. It was like 15 bucks. Not rated for this thick of steel. It's only rated for like aluminum and wood, but it's the only store I could find that had a 9/16 drill bit. I went to Home Depot and they only had the exact same one. So this is already at half inch, so it's only a 1/16 of an inch, and I think we can get it done with this. Alright, well, now I'm at a standstill because it doesn't fit my power drill. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do. So I went to the store. I bought a drill bit for 9/16, but it's a half inch shaft and doesn't fit in my power drill, so I had to go borrow one of these from the neighbors. So it's got a little bit of play in it, but hopefully it works. Clean. All right, we're good. 3 more to go. All right, right here is how you're gonna start off when you're first installing your bracket. So this chunk's gonna all be cut off. This chunk's gonna be cut off. Both your original caliper mounting holes are gonna be drilled out and tapped. I'll include the sizes down below, like I said. And then you have your bracket. I'm gonna put on this top hole first. Okay, now the other bolt threads in from the back. Alright, so you've taken your bracket, you've bolted up top, you've bolted it through this hole, through the back. Now I'm going to put the hub assembly back on. Make sure my bearings are all lined up. Okay, there's that. Alright, the axle nut's going back on. Got my washer on there already. Made sure it's all keyed in the right spot. With axle nuts, it doesn't need to be torqued down or anything. You really just want it fairly snug to eliminate all the play. This is all still finger tight. I'll give it a quarter turn. All right. So no left and right play. Everything's good there. Okay, cotter pin's in. Yes, I reused it. I don't give a shit. These brakes literally have, this cotter pin has like 10 miles on it. It's freaking brand new, so whatever. Okay. Okay, that is on there. Dust cap. Snug as a bug. Alright, so here is our 5th gen rotor. So you can tell it is nice and huge. Alright, so now that the rotor's on, I tightened it down, that way we know it's straight up. Let me make sure. Looks like it's spinning straight. I just had these turned, so these are nice and straight. You also have to get the center hub of a 5th gen rotor bored out to 70.7 millimeters. If you're just doing 4th gen LS1 brakes, you're fine. You don't have to do anything. Okay. And there's no pads in here yet. Alright guys, this has turned into, it was a 1-hour job max, and it's turned into an all-day project. First off, I didn't have the right drill bit, so I went and bought one. Then it was too big for my power drill, so I went to go buy another power drill. I couldn't get any service at Home Depot, nobody would help me, so I left. Ended up borrowing a drill press, got the holes drilled. Then the original size I said, the M14 2.0 by 60 mil or 50 whatever mil, was wrong. That was what I read online, but it actually needs a 35 millimeter M14 2.0 by 35 millimeter. Because the other ones were too long and I was rubbing into the back of the rotor. But now that I got these right ones, I'm going to go ahead, bolt these on, and hopefully we're good. Alright, so these 35 millimeter bolts were the perfect length. I bolted the 2 on. Now it's perfect. I'm running the rotor through. There's no rubbing. Seems like it's nice and parallel. Equal spacing on the sides. So now I'm going to go ahead and slip my brake pads in. So with these newer Brembos, your brake pads slide in from the top, so you don't actually have to take the caliper off every time you swap the brakes. These were the Brembo pads that came off of it, but I totally forgot that there's these balancers, or I don't know really what they're for, but I don't think my 17-inch Race Star wheels are going to clear with these. So that's another issue. I'm probably going to have to run and pick up some brand new brake pads tomorrow. Well, 2 days have gone by. I drove around everywhere in town looking to get some brake pads that didn't have the little circles on them. Nobody had them. My only option was to buy them online, with that last fest being here in like 4 days. I didn't want to go that route, so I just picked up some standard brake pads, but I took my Sawzall, or not a Sawzall, I just took my angle grinder with a cutting wheel and I cut off all the little circles on them. So we got brand new pads. For the rotors, we're going to take the wheels off real quick, slap these back on. There it goes. Okay. You have these lock push springs that go through the caliper, through the brake pads. See the little holes in the brake pads, and then they lock back in on the other side. You have to use this little spring that comes with the Brembos. Little triangle parts go down. Tuck it under your first one. Gonna push this down like this. Oh shit. Okay, now I just got to hammer them through the back to where the pins are flush, and those pads will be installed. Seems like we're good. Feels like everything lines up parallel. Alright, so I'm ready to bleed the brakes. Got a really simple system. I just have a long hose over the bleeder valve to a point to where it goes up and then straight down into this bottle, and at the bottom of the bottle is more brake fluid and the end of the hose is into it. That's crucial. That way once I start pumping on this, I'm just going to open it up and keep pumping the brakes, and it's going to push all the air that's out along with all the fluid through the hose into the bottom. And as long as the hose is in the fluid, all the air is going to go to the top of the bottle and the hose end will stay at the bottom, so no air is going to come back up. So I'm just going to push a ton of brake fluid through this, kind of get a little flush for it, and we'll get all the air out, and then I can go and close it. It's a real simple way to bleed the brakes by yourself. But okay. It's kind of crispy from the paint. Okay, so that should be nice and open. Alright, so pedal feels pretty firm. I'm not seeing any more air bubbles come out. It's all starting to come out clean. So I think we're good to tighten this side up. Okay. So, not the worst looking brake fluid. These LS1 brakes that we just took off, I mean, like I said, they only have, 10-15 miles on them, but why not go with these? Alright, both sides are bled. Brake pedal feels really nice and hard. Parallel. The rotors feel like they're spinning nice and parallel with the brake pads. It doesn't feel like there's any like unnatural rubbing or anything. I was worried about that with the whole bracket, and just, anytime stuff's handmade, you just got to check geometry, especially with suspension and brakes. But everything's all good now. I'm just going to give it a quick brake clean. Get all my fingerprints off of it. Ah, it's in my eye! Fuck, that burns. Fuck. Anyway, carry on. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for today's video. I do apologize, I didn't take you along for the ride. I left my suction cup on a friend's car, so I didn't have any way of taking the GoPro with me, but it's a huge improvement on the brakes. I did end up coming back and re-bleeding them. Really convenient though, I was able to bleed them without taking the wheels off or anything, just because there's so much room to work with. So that was really cool. I am getting a slight like metal rubbing noise on the passenger side, and I was having that problem with the LS1 brake, so I'm thinking the geometry on that bracket's off just a little bit. It's causing the pads to have a constant contact with the rotor, so I know if I just keep driving it'll wear out and that problem will go away, but that would be a really temporary band-aid fix and a half-ass solution. But LS Fest is this weekend, so I might just deal with it for the weekend. Check out my new license plate, it says mullet. I'm pretty stoked about that. But yeah, so stay tuned. I'm gonna have some more videos coming along. We got to finish up the dash, and I don't really know what else we're gonna have time for. LS Fest is so close. But anyways, stay tuned.